My partner went to a class reunion. She didn't come home that night. I didn't call, and I didn't send a message. I calmly left the door unlocked for her. The next morning, I quietly canceled the 2.8 million yuan marital home purchase. When she came back and saw the refund text, she stormed into the bedroom like she was crazy and demanded an explanation. I just pulled up the message on her phone that had come in at 11 p.m. last night and held it up for her to see. The wall clock had its hand on 3 a.m. The living room was lit by only a single dim floor lamp. Its light fell on the renovation drawings I had spent 3 months making. Ruyan still hadn't come back. Her phone had been unreachable since 11. It was off, and she wasn't replying on WeChat. I didn't call again. I sat back down on the sofa. I picked up the tablet on the coffee table. The screen lit up. A new Wi-Fi connection notification popped up. Ruyan's iPhone had connected from downstairs. She was coming upstairs. Her phone had connected to the home Wi-Fi. I turned off the tablet. I got up and walked to the entryway. I straightened her plush slippers, toes facing in. Then I went back to the bedroom. I turned off the light and lay back down. There was no sound of footsteps outside. I closed my eyes. In my head was a 140 square meter bare shell apartment. Every outlet position, every tile pattern. I had pictured them countless times. Tomorrow was the day the construction crew was scheduled to start work. For this home, I drained my parents' life savings and took on a 30-year mortgage myself. On the down payment contract, I had put both our names on it myself. Ruyan said she had dreamed since childhood of having a home with a floor-to-ceiling window and a walk-in closet. I turned the master bedroom into a suite with a floor-to-ceiling window. I opened up the second bedroom and turned the second bedroom into a walk-in closet that covered an entire wall for her. She said she liked a male classmate named Zhang Chao for his design style. So I shamelessly pulled strings to get the designer's contact information. I spent 750,000 yuan on the design. Only later did I learn that Zhang Chao was her so-called male best friend. At tonight's class reunion, Zhang Chao was there too. When dawn was about to break, I heard the faint sound of a key in the lock. Ruyan moved very softly. She changed her shoes, didn't come into the bedroom, and went straight into the bathroom. The sound of running water started. I picked up my phone and opened the banking app. I found the 100,000 yuan initial construction payment I had just transferred yesterday to the renovation company's project manager. The 100,000 yuan initial construction payment. Under the payee, I found his phone number. I copied the number, opened the dial screen, then quietly stared at the ceiling. The bathroom water stopped. The bedroom door was pushed open a crack. Ruyan stuck her head in and looked. She thought I was asleep. Then she quietly closed it again. I heard her go into the living room. Then came a muffled phone call, tightly held back and on the verge of tears. The call was hard to make out. I couldn't hear clearly. About 10 minutes later, she hung up. I pressed the call button on my phone. The call connected after 2 rings. A sleepy voice came through. He asked who it was. I'm Fang Yuan, the owner of the apartment in Guanlan residence, building 17. Of that apartment, my voice was very calm. Good morning, Mr. Fang. Work starts tomorrow. Isn't that a little too early? Ha, Manager Wang. I cut him off. Sorry to inform you. Tomorrow's start has been cancelled. There was silence on the other end. The house isn't being renovated. I added, Mr. Fang, are you joking? We've already prepared all the tools and materials. If we cancel first thing tomorrow morning, the liquidated damages, I'll pay according to the contract. Go ahead and calculate it. Send me the account number. No, Mr. Fang. Is there some misunderstanding? Did you and your partner have a fight? Couples fight and make up. Renovation is a big deal. You can't be this careless. We didn't fight. I stared at the dark ceiling. Just send me the bill. I hung up, deleted the call log. The whole thing took less than a minute. After doing all that, I felt the stone that had been hanging in my chest since 1 a.m. last night finally drop. The knot in my chest was gone. No more anxiety, no more anger, only a vast emptiness and a strange calm. It felt like I'd really fallen asleep. No one knows how long passed. The bedroom door was slammed open. Ruyan held up her phone. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her face was still streaked with wet tears. It was a look mixed with shock, anger, and panic. What do you mean? She shoved the screen of her phone in front of me. It showed a bank transfer reversal notice. The text was from the construction crew's manager Wang. He didn't ask for liquidated damages. He sent the 100,000 yuan initial construction payment back to the original account. He even added a line, Mr. Fang, A harmonious home brings prosperity. I sat up in bed. I didn't look at her or her phone. I just took my tablet from the nightstand, unlocked it, opened the photo album, and handed it to her. There was a screenshot in the album. It was a WeChat chat log between her and someone else. It was 10:05 p.m. last night. The note said, Chao. Ruyan sent. I'm at the hotel. Room 8302. The other person replied with one word, okay. The moment Ruyan saw the screenshot, the color drained from her face. The knuckles gripping her phone went white from the force. Her lips trembled, and she couldn't get a single word out. Once the phone connected to Wi-Fi, the information would sync to the cloud automatically. I said calmly, the tablet happened to be logged into your iCloud account. Ruyan's lips moved a few times, like a fish pulled out of water. The panic in her eyes was quickly replaced by something more complicated. It was grievance, anger, and the shame of being exposed. So, what? She finally found her voice. But the tone had changed. It was sharp and unfamiliar. Just because of this, you canceled the renovation without saying a word? Fang Yuan, you're stalking me. You're spying on me. She neatly shifted the focus from what she'd done to what I'd found out. I looked at her and said nothing. When she saw I wasn't answering, her emotions only grew more intense. Do you know why I didn't come back last night? Do you know what I went through? Do you know what I went through? At the reunion, they kept pouring drinks into me. My stomach felt terrible. It was Shanshan. She helped me to the hotel to rest. We got a room. I spent the whole night throwing up. My phone died from being used so much. I didn't tell you because I was afraid you'd worry. Shanshan is her college roommate and one of the organizers of this reunion. Zhang Chao was the one Shanshan called over to help. He had a car, dropped us at the hotel, and left. There was nothing between us. What gives you the right to sentence me based on one screenshot? Her voice was loud. Her chest rose and fell violently. Tears streamed down her face. If I hadn't had that screenshot in my hand, I almost would have believed her. She was acting too convincingly. Every word dripped with the pain of being wronged. I didn't argue with her. I just asked calmly, Shanshan is Shanshan. If you don't believe me, call her yourself. Ruyan immediately pulled out her phone and started searching for the number. She seemed desperate to prove her own innocence. No need. I cut her off. I asked, what was the hotel room number? Who booked room 8302? Ruyan froze. Her eyes darted away, but she still forced herself to say, Shanshan used her ID to book it. I was feeling terrible. I didn't have the strength to deal with any of that. I nodded. I picked up my phone and dialed another number right in front of her. I put it on speaker. It rang for a long time before someone answered. A sleepy woman's voice came through. Who is it? It's so early. Shanshan. Shanshan. This is Fang Yuan. The voice on the other end woke up a lot. Fang Yuan, what's up? Are you looking for Ruyan? Didn't she go back last night? Ruyan's face turned ashen in an instant. She rushed over and tried to snatch my phone. I sidestepped and dodged her. I kept asking into the phone. She wasn't with you. No. Shanshan's voice was full of confusion. By the time the reunion ended last night, it was almost 11 p.m. She said her boyfriend was coming to pick her up, so she left with Zhang Chao. We even joked that Zhang Chao was being inconsiderate, putting romance before friends. One person was enough to escort her, but he insisted on personally seeing her upstairs. Why didn't she go home? I didn't answer Shanshan's question. Instead, I looked at Ruyan. Her body was trembling slightly. Her eyes were filled with fear. Ruyan looked at me pleadingly, her voice shaking. I ignored her. I said into the phone, it's nothing. Thanks, and sorry to bother you. I threw the phone onto the bed. The bedroom was terrifyingly quiet. All you could hear was Ruyan's increasingly rapid breathing. See, you lied again. My tone didn't change at all. It was like saying the weather was bad today. That kind of calm was more frightening to her than any hysterical accusation. She completely broke down. She lunged at me and grabbed my arm. Tears and snot smeared all over her face. I was really wrong. I got possessed. I was just drunk. Zhang Chao helped me upstairs. Nothing happened between us. Really, I threw up as soon as I got into the room. He took care of me, then left after a while. I swear he took care of me all night. I watched her clutch my hand and felt a wave of physical disgust. No, he sat for a while and then left. I was too tired. I fell asleep on my own. I forgot to call you back. She was still desperately trying to explain herself, trying to stitch the story back together. Really, I gently pulled my hand free. I stood up and walked to the wardrobe. I opened it. From behind a few of my shirts, I took out a white hotel keycard sleeve. The sleeve had the hotel logo printed on it. Below it was a line of handwriting in black ink. Room 8302. Check-in time, yesterday 21:30. Checkout time, today 7:45. I threw the sleeve onto the bed. It floated lightly down at Liu Ryan's feet. This morning, the cleaner found it in the trash bin downstairs. She saw it was from that hotel and thought I had left it behind, so she brought it up to me. As I spoke, I reached into the wardrobe and took out my biggest suitcase. The checkout time was 7:45. You got home at 6:30. Driving from that hotel to our place takes 40 minutes without traffic. I opened the suitcase and started taking my clothes out one by one so I could pack them away. So, you checked out at 7:45. Liu Ryan stared blankly at the hotel key card sleeve on the floor. Then she looked at the suitcase in my hand. She finally understood what I was doing. No, Fang Yuan, you can't leave. She rushed at me like a mad woman and wrapped herself around my legs. Listen to me explain. It's not what you think. It really isn't. What more do you want me to explain? I stopped moving. I looked down at her. Explain why you sent a message at 11 p.m. telling him the room number. Explain why Shanshan would help you lie. Or explain why the checkout time was after you got home. After that, every question I asked was like a hammer, smashing her last bit of stubbornness to pieces. She was speechless. She could only cling to my legs and keep repeating that she was sorry. I was really wrong. Please forgive me this once, okay? We're about to have our own home. You can't just give up on this home. I laughed and pointed at the bedside table. The thick design portfolio sat on top of it. For this home, my parents took out all their retirement money. After work every day, I ran to the construction site and went over every detail with the workers. I studied hundreds of smart home setups. Just because you said you liked a tech feel, I could even tolerate your male best friend coming to be our designer. Liu Ryan, I can give you anything. I crouched down, looked into her eyes, and said, word by word, but you're not worthy of this home. Liu Ryan froze completely. Her hands around my legs loosened. She probably hadn't expected me, someone who's always been gentle, to say something so ruthless. I ignored her, stood up, and kept packing. I didn't have much. 9 pieces of clothing I wore often, a few books, and my laptop. I put them into the suitcase one by one. My movements weren't fast, but they were steady. Every time I packed one thing away, I felt some part of my heart empty out a little. Liu Ryan just sat on the floor. She stared blankly at me. Her tears were still falling, but there was no sound anymore. The bedroom held only the rustle of clothes and the sound of the zipper closing. Fang Yuan, she suddenly said, her voice hoarse. What about the house? What about the loan? Both our names are on it. His focus was always on the most practical issues. I'll find a way to sell the house. I'll pay off the loan myself. I stood the suitcase upright and pulled out the handle. On your own? She sounded like she'd heard something unimaginable. A 30-year loan. 12,000 a month. How can you handle that? That's my problem. I pulled my suitcase toward the door. I passed her without stopping. Fang Yuan came after me from behind and grabbed my arm again. You can't be this selfish. The house belongs to both of us. You can't just decide to sell it. I don't agree. I turned around and looked at her face twisted by anger. Liu Ryan, have you forgotten something? You didn't pay a single cent of that 1.5 million down payment. My parents put in 1 million. I added 500,000 from my own savings. I added your name myself because I said I would give you a home. I stared into her eyes. But now I don't want to anymore. Legally, I have the right to dispose of this house. If you insist on going through the formal process, then when the property is divided, guess how much you think you'll get? I left her speechless. Her face went red, then white. She knew she couldn't out-talk me. Do you have to take this so far? She changed tactics. Her voice softened, thick with tears. We've been together for 3 years, and because I made one huge mistake, you're going to erase all of it. Give me one chance, just one last chance. I looked at her and suddenly found it all ridiculous. From deciding not to come home last night, to coming back this morning and telling me your first lie, to dragging Shanshan in to lie to me. Did you ever give me a chance? Liu Ryan, this wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. You chose to lie. You chose Zhang Chao. You chose yourself. I shook off her hand and pulled my suitcase out of the bedroom. In the living room, the open design drawings were still on the coffee table. Next to them was the half-finished glass of cold water I'd been drinking. Everything was the same as last night, and yet somehow nothing was the same anymore. I didn't say a word, and went straight to the entryway. Ruyan's scream came from behind me. "You will regret this." I ignored her, just as I grabbed the doorknob, and was about to leave. My phone rang. It was an unknown landline number. I frowned, and answered. "Hello, is this Fang Yuan?" A middle-aged woman's voice came through the phone. Her tone had a cold, superior edge, like she was interrogating me. It was Ruyan's mother, Aunt Wang. "It's me. What's going on between you and Ruyan?" She called me crying, saying you were going to break up with her, and that you were even going to sell the house. "Are you crazy?" Wang Quixia's voice shot up at once, sharp and ear-piercing. Before I could even answer, I heard Ruyan crying on the other end, shouting that I was abandoning her. "He's leaving, so don't cry." Wang Quixia snapped into the phone. Then she turned back to me and said, "Fang Yuan, I don't care how you young people argue. The house is a serious matter. Both your names are on it. That makes it an issue for both our families. You can't just say you'll sell it and sell it. Did you ask our Ruyan what she thinks? Did you ask me, as the elder, what I think?" "Aunt Wang, this is between Ruyan and me." My voice was ice-cold. "Between you two." Wang Quixia let out a cold laugh. "Once the house is involved, it's no small matter. I entrusted my daughter to you. Not so you could bully her like this. Didn't she just drink too much at a class reunion last night? She stayed the night at a friend's place. What's the big deal? You're a grown man. Do you really have to be this petty? Must you make a mountain out of a molehill?" I stayed silent. I listened to Wang Quixia's scolding over the phone. Ruyan must have used that last phone call to spin her mother a brand new story. I told her, "I do not agree to this. The house cannot be sold, and you two can forget about breaking up. If Ruyan did anything wrong, apologize to her on her behalf. Go home right now. Talk it out properly with Ruyan." A grown man, running off from home at the slightest thing. What kind of behavior is that? Without waiting for my reply, she hung up with a sharp click. I stood at the door with my phone in hand. Then I suddenly laughed. Mother and daughter were exactly the same. They could never see their own faults. They were always used to blaming everyone else. I took a deep breath. I put my phone back in my pocket. I did not go home. Instead, I opened the door and walked out. Behind me came Ruyan's desperate cries. I did not look back. I walked out of the apartment building. The morning sun was a little blinding. I hailed a taxi. I put my suitcase in the trunk. Once I got in, the driver asked where I wanted to go. After a moment's thought, I gave him an address. Not to the company, and not to a friend's place. I was going to Guanlan residence. There was an unfinished battlefield waiting for me there. The taxi stopped at the gate of Guanlan residence. The security guard knew me. When he saw me pulling a suitcase, his face showed surprise. "Mr. Fang, isn't work starting today? Did something come up?" "It was cancelled." I nodded at him. Then I pulled my suitcase inside. He did not ask any more questions. He opened the gate for me. I did not go straight to Building 17. Instead, I went around to the property management office. The property manager's surname was Li. He was a slightly heavyset man in his 40s. He was usually very friendly with me. When I handled the renovation permit, I dealt with him plenty. "Mr. Fang, so early? Starting work with good luck today, huh?" Manager Li saw me and came over with a broad smile. His gaze fell on the suitcase by my feet, and his smile froze for a moment. "Manager Li, I need something from you." I got straight to the point. "I want the access card for the apartment registered under my name, and the front door code completely reset or cancelled." Manager Li froze. His expression changed from warmth to shock and caution. "Mr. Fang, what's going on? Did you have a fight with Miss Liu?" "Yes, I said directly that we have split up, so I do not want her to be able to come and go from this apartment freely anymore." Manager Li looked troubled. "Mr. Fang, according to the rules, there are two names on the property deed. We, as property management, cannot take one owner's word alone and cancel the other owner's access privileges. That would not be proper. If Miss Liu comes to ask about it, we'll be in a difficult position too." I had expected her to say that. "I understand your position." I took a bank card out of my pocket and placed it on his desk. "But I paid the down payment for this apartment in full myself. These are the bank transaction records." I unlocked my phone and pulled up the bank transfer records I had prepared long ago. They clearly showed 1.5 million transferred from my account to the developer's account. The subsequent loan was also deducted from my personal repayment account. Although there were two names on the property deed, she was an undivided co-owner. If needed, I can have my lawyer immediately send your property management office a copy of a legally binding property ownership statement. Manager Lee looked at my phone screen and then at my calm face, which left no room for negotiation. A fine sheen of sweat broke out on his forehead. He was a smart man. He knew how serious this was. Mr. Fang, please do not get upset. There is no need for a lawyer's letter. He pushed the bank card back to me. I understand what you mean, but direct cancellation does carry some risk. How about this? I'll freeze the privileges on Miss Liu's card for now. We can say the system is being upgraded. As for the keypad lock, I'll send someone over to reset the administrator privileges for you. We'll wipe the old fingerprints and passwords completely. That way, at least, until the two of you sort out the house situation, only you will be able to get in. That was exactly what I wanted. I appreciate it. No trouble at all, no trouble at all. Manager Lee immediately picked up the phone. He called over a technician from the engineering department. Zhang, take your tools and go with Mr. Fang to building 17. Reset his door lock system. Remember, only register Mr. Fang's administrator privileges. After seeing all this, I pulled my suitcase and walked to building 17 with Zhang. The elevator rose to the 21st floor. My front door was right there. Yesterday I had posted a red paper on the door, wishing for a lucky start to the renovation. Now it looked absurdly ironic. I tore it off and crumpled it into a ball. The locksmith worked quickly. He finished all the settings in under 10 minutes. He deleted the fingerprints and password Ruyan had previously registered. Then he had me register mine again. When my fingerprint became the only key to this door, I felt no joy, only a weariness that came with everything finally settling into place. After seeing him off, I opened the door with the new code. The apartment was empty. On the concrete floor, various marks had been drawn in red paint. Those marked the walls we had confirmed with the designer, and the plumbing and electrical points. On the wall, chalk still marked Ryan's walk-in closet, and the reserved spot for the nursery. I dragged my suitcase to the center of the living room. Sunlight poured in through the bare floor-to-ceiling window. Dust danced in the beam of light. I opened the suitcase and took everything out one piece at a time. I hung the clothes in the temporary walk-in closet, which still was not ready for use. I piled the books in the corner of the future study. I put my laptop on the bay window ledge. There was no bed here, only a sofa. No water, no electricity. But from today on, this was my home, mine alone. As I was thinking that, my phone suddenly started vibrating violently. It was Wang Quixia. I hung up before she could call again. I hung up again. The third call came from an unfamiliar number. I guess she had switched phones. She was calling from another phone. So I answered it. Fang Yuan, you think you're so capable now, do you? You dare hang up on me? Wang Quixia's roar nearly pierced my eardrums. Annie, if you're calling about that matter again, I don't think we have anything to discuss. Where are you now? Get back here right now. I'm in my own home. What do you mean, your home? You didn't run off with our Ryan, did you? Guanlan residence, 21st floor. I answered calmly. The line fell silent. A few seconds later, Wang Quixia's sneer came through. Fine. Fang Yuan, you've really grown a backbone. So, you've learned to keep a mistress in a golden house, have you? Just you wait. I'll be there in a minute. I want to see. Which little vixen bewitched you so badly you don't even want your home anymore? She seemed convinced I was hiding another woman here. I gave no explanation. Annie, you probably won't be able to get in. What do you mean? You dare stop me? I changed the lock. The line went silent again. Then came Wang Quixia's furious scream. Fang Yuan, you bastard. She hung up again. I knew they would be back soon. I walked over to the door and locked it from the inside. Then I put the only key in my pocket. I sat down on the cold concrete floor, my back against the load-bearing wall. The sunlight shifted, stretching long shadows across the floor. About an hour later, outside the corridor, I heard the rapid click of high heels on the floor, and then Wang Quixia's full-throated cursing. Fang Yuan, open the door. Get out here. Then the fingerprint lock gave a beep-beep warning that verification had failed. Open the door. Do you hear me? Wang Quixia started pounding on the door. She hammered it so hard the security door rattled with loud bangs. You heartless bastard. Hiding in there, what kind of man are you? You had the guts to change the lock. So open the door if you've got the guts. Liu Ryan's voice rang out too, trembling with tears and pleading. Fang Yuan, please open the door. Let's talk this through. Don't do this. Talk to him about what? That kind of man needs to be taught a lesson. Wang Quixia cut her off and kept pounding on the door. I'm telling you, Fang Yuan, if you don't open this door today and give my daughter and me an explanation, I'll call the police and report you for illegal possession of property. This place has Ryan's name on it. What right do you have to keep her out? I didn't make a sound. I was just an outside observer, listening to the farce outside the door. Their shouting echoed through the empty corridor, drawing the neighbors. I heard the elevator doors open and footsteps approaching. A tentative voice spoke up. Are you the owner on the 21st floor? What are you all doing? If you have something to say it properly. Talk it through. Ask him what dirty thing he did first. Wang Quixia immediately found an outlet and began crying loudly to the neighbor. Our Ryan dated him for 3 years. We even bought the house. They were about to get married. Then because of one tiny thing, he wants to break up. And now he wants to kick our Ryan out. Now he's changed the lock and is hiding inside. Everyone, judge this for yourselves. Is there any way to treat people like this? Mom, stop talking. Liu Ryan's voice was full of shame and despair. Why shouldn't I say it? I want everyone to see what kind of person he is. An ungrateful, backstabbing ingrate. The noise outside grew louder and louder. I took out my phone and called Manager Lee at Property Management. Mr. Fang, Manager Lee's voice sounded anxious. Manager Lee, there are people outside my building gathering and making a scene. It is seriously affecting my normal life and the peace of the community. According to the community bylaws, isn't property management responsible for handling this? My voice was not loud, but it was very clear. Manager Lee immediately understood what I meant. Yes, of course, don't worry. We'll send security up right away to deal with it. Less than 3 minutes after I hung up, I heard the security guards' hurried footsteps and their attempts to calm things down. Annie, please calm down. If you have something to say it calmly. Don't disturb the other residents. Move aside. This is my family matter. Wang Quixia refused to back down. Whether it's a family matter or not, you making this huge racket in the hallway is wrong. We've already received complaints from other residents. If you keep this up, we'll have to call the police. The guard's tone was firm. At the words call the police, Wang Quixia's arrogance finally dropped a little. Fang Yuan, just wait. This isn't over. She left with one final threat. Then I heard the sound of her and Liu Ryan being escorted away by security. The hallway finally fell quiet again. I leaned against the wall and let out a long breath. I knew this was only the beginning. With Wang Quixia's personality, she would never let this go. Sure enough, my phone screen lit up. It was a WeChat message from Liu Ryan. Fang Yuan, I'm begging you. Come out and meet me. My mom is about to have a heart attack because of you. I looked at the message and deleted it without expression. Then a second message came through. Do you have to make everyone know before you're satisfied? Do you have to destroy me before you're satisfied? I deleted the third one as well. Her tone changed. It was full of resentment. Fang Yuan, I didn't know you could be this ruthless. Fine, it's the house then. Didn't you want to sell it? Let me tell you, as long as I don't agree, you'll never sell it in your life. Let's just drag this out. We'll see who lasts longer. When I saw that message, I actually laughed. This was his true face. When begging and moral blackmail failed, he finally pulled out his most direct weapon, threats. I didn't reply. Instead, I stood up and brushed the dust off my clothes. I walked to the bay window, opened my laptop, and connected it to my phone's hotspot. I needed to make a plan that could completely solve this, a way to pull myself out of this swamp. My goal was very clear. First, take back 100% ownership of the house. Second, make Liu Ryan and her family pay the price for what they did. I'm not someone who likes to push things to the absolute limit, but this time, they forced my hand. I created a new document. The title was Counterattack Plan. First, the house. Liu Ryan was right. As long as she didn't agree, the house really would be hard to sell. I needed to find a way to make her give up on her own. I looked up the relevant legal provisions for a jointly purchased premarital home. If one party paid the money and the other did not, but both names were on the property deed, when the property is divided, the non-paying party usually cannot claim ownership of the house. But depending on whether it is considered a gift, they may receive some compensation in certain circumstances. The key was how to make her walk away with nothing, not even compensation, and sign voluntarily. Then I thought of something. Back then, to cover the down payment, I was still short 100,000 yuan. My parents borrowed it from an old friend of theirs. I wrote the IOU myself. This money was clearly a family debt. As for Liu Ryan, she had a car in her name. She bought it 2 years ago with her own savings. It was worth about 150,000 yuan. My fingers tapped on the keyboard. The outline of a plan slowly took shape in my mind. If I filed a suit to end the cohabitation relationship, even though we never got a marriage certificate, I could sue to end the cohabitation relationship and divide the property. When the court divided the assets, it would also handle the joint debt. I could absolutely argue that the 200,000 yuan loan was used for our shared living expenses and to buy the house, making it joint debt, and her car, as a personal asset in her name, would very likely be used to offset the portion of debt she needed to bear. She valued that car more than anything, used the thing she cared about most to trade for what she never should have had in the first place. That would be fair. I was still working through the details of the plan when my phone rang again. This time, it was someone I did not expect. It was Zhang Chao. I stared at the 2 words Zhang Chao flashing on the screen, and my eyes turned cold. He actually still dared to call me. I answered. I said nothing, waiting for him to speak first. Fang Yuan. Zhang Chao sounded hesitant, and still carried that same arrogance. What is it? My voice was like ice. I heard from Ruyan. It seems like there was some misunderstanding between you two. He put on the act of a peacemaker. Brother, don't be rash. What happened last night really wasn't what you think. Ruyan had too much to drink. I just kindly took her to a hotel to rest. Nothing happened between us. His tone was casual, as if he were talking about something trivial. Really? I asked back. Of course. I've been friends with Ruyan for years. What could I possibly do to her? Besides, you're all about to get married. How could I do something that would wreck your relationship? He said solemnly. You're a grown man. Be more broad-minded. Ruyan cried like that already. Just don't hold it against her. I listened silently to his performance, saying nothing. He seemed to think his explanation was working. He kept going. As for the house, I heard about it too. I put a lot of effort into the design of Fang Yuan's apartment. You could say it was the work I was most satisfied with in recent years. Now, if you say you're not doing the renovation anymore, it is not just about money. It's also disrespectful to me. Disrespectful to the art. Do you understand? Artai almost laughed out loud. He had taken something shameless and dressed it up so elegantly. So you called me just for that? I asked. Of course not just for that. He cleared his throat. Mainly for you and Ruyan. I think there are still feelings between two. You can't let a small misunderstanding tear you apart. How about this, my treat? Let's have dinner tonight. I'll explain everything to you in person. I'll apologize to you both. How about it? He wants dinner. He wants to settle this at the table, with 9 flimsy excuses and an apology, and then just sweep it under the rug. Fine. I answered calmly. Zhang Chao on the other end clearly froze. He probably hadn't expected me to agree so readily. All right, then it's settled. He immediately got excited. You pick the place. My treat. I'll choose the venue, I said. But not tonight. I need to prepare a few things. Prepare what? Some materials we'll need for dinner. I said every word slowly and clearly. Zhang Chao clearly did not understand what I meant, but he did not care. In his view, as long as I was willing to sit down and talk, this could still be smoothed over. Okay, no problem. Then let's set the time and place. Let me know in advance. I will. After I finished speaking, I hung up. I looked out the window. A cold smile tugged at my lips. Zhang Chao, since you've come to me on your own, then don't blame me. Don't you like design? Then I'll design something for you and for Liu Ryan. For Wang Quixia, a proper ambush dinner no one could refuse. I reopened the counterattack plan document on my computer. Under Part 1, Property Division, I created a second section. The title was Dinner. My plan needed a stage where everyone would be present. A stage where the truth could be torn open in the most brutal way. Zhang Xiao's call had just given me the stage I needed. I needed a lot of material. First was the hotel surveillance footage. I needed footage of Zhang Xiao helping Liu Ryan into the elevator, all the way to him leaving the next morning. Getting that footage would not be easy. The hotel would not hand it over to a private person lightly. I needed a legitimate reason. Second, the call logs between Liu Ryan and Zhang Xiao over a longer period, and their chat logs. That screenshot was only the tip of the iceberg. I was sure there was far more between them than that. Last, and most important, I needed something that would leave Wang Quixia completely speechless, and decisive evidence that would drive Liu Ryan into complete despair. I turned my eyes to that thick design portfolio. Back when Liu Ryan persuaded me to use Zhang Chaos design, her reason was that he understood better what I wanted. Looking back now, that line was full of irony. I picked up my phone and called a college classmate of mine. After graduation, he became a private investigator. Though it did not sound very honorable, when it came to gathering information and evidence, he was a professional. Hello, fourth brother. Well, if it isn't a rare visitor, what made you think of calling me? I've got a job for you. Are you taking it or not? The voice on the other end immediately turned serious. I told him the names Zhang, Chao, and Ruyan, as well as the hotel address. I need you to look into two people for me. I need their full movements at this hotel last night. Also, if possible, help me recover their chat and call logs from the past 3 months. I paused. I added, money is not the problem, but I need absolute confidentiality, and all the evidence must be obtained legally. Relax. We're professionals. Fourth brother chuckled. But, brother, you've been cheated on. I admitted it without flinching. All right, I understand. He was serious. Give me 3 days. In 3 days, I'll send everything you need to your inbox. Then I hung up. I felt the skeleton of the whole plan was already in place. All I had to do now was wait. Wait for every piece of material to be ready. Wait for the players to take their places. And wait for the main performance to begin. 3 days later, I sent Zhang Chao a message. Saturday at 7 p.m. Peony Pavilion, 2nd floor of Hexyangju. Bring your aunt, Ms. Wang Quixio, along too. I think we need a family meeting. Over the next 3 days, I hardly left this empty house. I ordered takeout on my phone. I had the delivery guy leave it at the door. After he left, I would open the door and get it. I did not want to see anyone. I did not want to talk to anyone either. Ruyan and Wang Quixia did not come again, but their harassment never stopped. Ruyan sent me dozens of WeChat messages every day. The messages shifted from pleading and remorse at first, to accusations and curses later on. And then, at the end, they turned into a suffocating self-monologue. She kept replaying every detail of our past. Those sweet moments were painted in words, like a row of dull knives, trying to cut through my defenses. Fang Yuan, do you still remember? The first time we came to look at this apartment, you said you'd put a swing here for me someday. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Give me one more chance. I swear I've cut ties with Zhang Chao for good. Why won't you reply to me? You won't even say a single word to me anymore. Fang Yuan, you're too cruel. I didn't reply to a single one. I read them and deleted them. Wang Quixia kept switching to different unknown numbers to call me. I answered twice. Both times all I heard were filthy insults. After that, I stopped answering altogether. They were like wild beasts outside a cage, using every method they could. They wanted me, the one hiding inside the cage, to feel pain and torment, but they did not know that I had already turned my heart into something harder than these concrete walls. All my energy went into perfecting my plan. I contacted the man who had lent money to my parents back then. I explained the situation to him. He was furious. He said that at any time, he could testify in court, and he sent me the IOU I had written myself by MMS message. I also asked a lawyer friend to confirm that my plan was legally viable. The lawyer told me that as long as the chain of evidence was complete, I could not only get the house back, I could even claim Ruyan was the at-fault party and seek emotional distress damages. But I had no intention of asking for emotional distress damages. I only wanted to take back what belonged to me. Then I would make them tear off their own masks in front of the people who mattered most. Tear off their own masks with their own hands. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, fourth brother's email arrived in my inbox right on time. The subject line was simple. There were several attachments with the materials you wanted. They were neatly organized and packaged by category. The first folder was the hotel surveillance footage. I opened the video. The image was a little shaky. It was a shaky handheld recording of a computer screen. Fourth brother explained in the email that he could not get the original file directly. This was the only way, but the quality was clear enough. In the footage, Zhang Chao was almost carrying the dead drunk Ruyan half in his arms. As they stepped out of the elevator, Ruyan's head rested on Zhang Chao's shoulder, her whole body limp. Zhang Chao used his key card to open room 8302 and helped her inside. The time was 10:50 p.m. The next video was shot by the fixed corridor camera. In the footage, the door to 8302 was slightly ajar. It stayed that way until 7:42 the next morning. When the door opened again, Zhang Chao walked out. He was wearing the same clothes as the night before, but his hair was a little messy. His face carried that drained, satisfied look after the fact. He looked left and right, then closed the door, and hurried toward the elevator. The video ends here. Fourth brother wrote in the email that a friend inside the hotel said, this room was opened by Zhang Chao using his own ID. From the time he went into the king-size room until he came out, no one went in or out in between. Shanshan, He took a taxi home at 10:30 that night, and there was a ride-hailing app record. My hand trembled slightly on the touchpad, not because I was angry, but from the familiar wave of disgust I had already expected. I closed the video, then opened the second folder. Inside were Liu Ruyan and Zhang Zhao's WeChat chat logs from the past 3 months. Recovered files. I took a deep breath and clicked in. What hit my eyes was a dense wall of filthy flirting and innuendo. Ruyan, I miss you. Is the man at your place working late again? Poor bastard, really. He's given us so many chances. Last time in the car was too thrilling. Next time, let's try your place. Don't let him find out, or we're done for. Liu Ruyan replied. What's there to be afraid of? He's so honest. Say anything to him and he'll believe it. Their chat logs could be traced all the way back to after we decided to buy the apartment. It turned out that while I was happily planning our future, they had already been behind my back, starting this filthy game. What chilled me most was the conversation about the renovation design. Honey, you're amazing. A few words, and you had Fang Yuan wrapped around your finger. The 50,000 design fee is enough for us to take a trip to Europe. That was sent by Zhang Chao. Of course. Who do you think I am? Liu Ruyan replied with a smug emoji. That man, as long as you exploit his weakness of wanting to give me a home, he'll do anything. He thinks that's love. I think that's stupid. So in his eyes, to him, everything I had given was just stupidity. I turned the pages one by one, my heart as if it had been soaked in ice water, growing colder and harder bit by bit. I saw how they mocked the tile style I chose for being too old-fashioned, how they planned to skim even more from the renovation budget, how they discussed waiting until the apartment was finished, then enjoying their little world here while I was on a business trip. Here, this place I had poured all my heart and dreams into, in their eyes, was nothing more than a more convenient place to cheat. I saw the chat logs from the day before the class reunion. Zhang Chao had already arranged everything for tomorrow. Same old place, room 8302. Liu Ruyan is going to drink again. I hate that smell. Zhang Chao, be good, don't drink. How else am I supposed to give your man a perfect excuse? Just say you drank too much. He'll never suspect a thing. Liu Ruyan, okay. But this time you have to be gentle. I closed the chat logs. That's enough. These materials were already sufficient. I sorted all these videos and chat logs, together with the IOU from my father's friend, and the photos and information on Liu Ruyan's car, and organized everything. I saved them onto a USB drive, and then sent Liu Ruyan my final message. Saturday night, 7 p.m. Peony Pavilion, 2nd floor of Hexyangju. If you still want your car back. After sending it, I blocked every contact method for them both, and blocked them all. The world was finally quiet. I stood up, and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. The sunset glow had turned the whole city gold. Traffic streamed below. People came and went. I knew that tomorrow night, in that private room called Peony Pavilion, a spectacular show would unfold, and I would be both the director and the lead actor. Saturday, 6:30 p.m. I arrived early at Hexyangju. Hexyangju was an upscale Chinese restaurant, with a quiet, elegant atmosphere, and a steep price tag. I chose this place on purpose, because I knew Wang Quixia liked places that looked impressive. The Peony Pavilion I booked was the largest private room on the 2nd floor. Inside was a redwood round table that could seat 12, as well as a small reception area, with a sofa set and coffee table. A high-definition projector sat on the coffee table. I connected the laptop and projector, copied the contents of the USB drive into a desktop folder. I named it Our Memories. Then I put the USB drive away and sat in the seat of honor, waiting quietly. At 6:50, the private room door was pushed open. Wang Quixia walked in first. She had dressed up specially today, wearing a dark red kippao, with pearl necklace and earrings, and delicate makeup on her face. But the shrewdness and venom in her eyes could not be hidden by even the thickest foundation. Behind her was Liu Ruyan. She looked much more haggard, thinner than before, with swollen red eyes, wearing a white dress, and looking pitiful and delicate. Zhang Chao came in last. He had changed into a crisp suit, his hair slicked back to a glossy shine, with a fruit basket in his hands. A perfectly measured smile hung on his face, like a relative or friend who had sincerely come to mediate a conflict. 3 people, 3 different postures, formed a perfect tableau of irony. Well, Fang Yuan, you really do have money, treating people at a place like this. As soon as Wang Quixia opened her mouth, that familiar mocking tone was back. She pulled out the chair directly opposite me and sat down heavily, as if she owned the place, as if she were the host today. Ruyan glanced at me timidly, her lips moving, but she said nothing and sat down beside her mother. Chao set the fruit basket on the table and smiled as he played peacemaker. Annie, let's keep this civil. Today we are here to solve the problem, not to argue. He turned to me and rested a hand on the chair beside me. Fang Yuan, if you came, that means you still have feelings for Ruyan. Brother, I'll drink 3 glasses first, as an apology for what happened that night. As he spoke, he was already about to call the waiter for wine. No rush, I raised a hand to stop him. Not everyone is here yet. All 3 of them froze. Who else did you invite? Wang Quixia asked warily. Just then, the private room door was pushed open again. My parents walked in, along with the uncle who had lent us money. My parents were honest factory workers, who had never been to a place like this in their lives, so they looked a little out of place and uneasy. My father was still holding a sheet of paper. That was the original IOU. When Wang Quixia saw my parents, her face changed at once. She had not expected me to call both families here. In-laws. What brings you here? She forced out a smile, but her eyes were already darting around. My father ignored her. He only looked at me, his eyes full of concern. I gave them a reassuring look, then stood up and led them to the seats beside me. Sit down. Now everyone is here. I sat in the seat of honor. My gaze swept over everyone present. Wang Quixia, both Ruyan and Zhang Chao looked uneasy. They could sense it. This dinner was not just about apologizing. I invited everyone here today to settle things between Ruyan and me once and for all. I got straight to the point. Settle what? Wang Quixia immediately slammed the table. I am telling you, Fang Yuan, as long as our Ruyan does not agree, you can forget about breaking up, and you can forget about selling the house. Annie, calm down. I smiled. I picked up the remote on the table and turned on the projector. The screen slowly came down. A sheet of white light washed over it. Before we talk about breaking up, let's review the sweet memories Ruyan and I shared over these past 3 months. I clicked on the folder named Our Memories and opened it. The first thing that appeared on the screen was a screenshot of a WeChat chat log. Zhang Chao, Ruyan, I miss you. Ruyan, your man is working overtime again. Poor guy, he really suffered for us. He gave us so many chances. The private room fell silent in an instant. Ruyan's face went ashen in a flash. She stared at the screen in disbelief, then looked at me. Her body began to tremble uncontrollably. Wang Quixia froze too. She stared fixedly at the words on the screen, the color draining from her face bit by bit. The smile on Zhang Chao's face stiffened completely. He looked at me in shock, his eyes full of panic. I ignored their reactions and moved to the next screen. It was their chat about how to scam design fees out of me and how they planned to sneak around in my new house. The chat logs. He thought this was love. I thought it was stupid. That line from Ruyan was highlighted by me in a bright red box. Then came a sharp slap. It was Wang Quixia. She shot to her feet and slapped Ruyan hard across the face. You shameless thing. She was shaking with rage. She pointed at Ruyan and cursed at her. How did I give birth to such an embarrassing disgrace? The slap knocked Ruyan's head to the side. Half her face swelled red at once. She covered her face, tears flooding out, but she could not say a single word. My parents and my uncle were stunned too. They looked at the content on the screen, then at the chaos unfolding before them, their faces dark with anger. Mrs. Fang, you. My mother tried to say something, but my father held her back. He shook his head to signal her not to speak. There was more. I picked up the remote and opened the video file. Surveillance footage from the hotel corridor appeared clearly on the screen, from Zhang Chao helping Ruyan into the room, to him leaving alone the next morning. The evidence was ironclad. Every frame was damning. Ruyan finally broke down. She shook her head and cried out incoherently. That's not how it was. He forced me, like she was grasping the last straw. She pointed at Zhang Chao. Zhang Chao's face had gone corpse white. He stared at the screen, then at the contemptuous looks being thrown his way, and his legs went weak. He nearly collapsed to the floor. Nonsense. It was you who seduced me, wasn't it? Wasn't it? The two of them tore into each other in the private room like rabid dogs. each trying to shove off the blame. Former lovers. When money and reputation were at stake, they showed their ugliest faces. Enough! A thunderous shout cut off Ruyan and Zhang's mutual accusations. It was Wang Quixia. Her face was dark with rage, her chest heaving hard. She pointed at Zhang, her fingers shaking. You animal! You ruined my daughter! She seemed to have completely forgotten that just minutes ago she had slapped her own daughter. Now she needed a new target to divert everyone's fury and scorn. Zhang became the perfect target. Annie, listen to me explain. Zhang stepped back in fear. Explain. What is there left to explain? Wang Quixia grabbed the teacup from the table and hurled it at Zhang. Zhang dodged it in a panic. It crashed to the floor with a loud clang, shattering into pieces. Hot water and tea leaves splashed everywhere. I'll beat you to death, you shameless bastard. Wang Quixia lunged at him like a madwoman, scratching and hitting Zhang. Though he was a grown man, Zhang's face was scratched bloody by her. But he did not dare hit back. He could only shield his head and keep dodging. Ruyan had collapsed into her chair, covering her face with her hands, letting out desperate sobs. My parents and my uncle sat there, their expressions grim, saying nothing. This farce had gone beyond anything honest people like them could imagine. I did not stop it. I just sat there in silence, watching the play I had personally directed, watching each of them. For how, in the face of the truth, they exposed their truest, ugliest selves. Only when Wang Quixia tired herself out, and the manager and security who rushed over from the dining area pulled her back, did the private room grow a little quieter. Wang Quixia's hair was in disarray, and her kipao had been pulled crooked. Panting, she pointed at me. Fang Yuan, are you satisfied? You put all this out there, made everyone laugh at our family, and now you're satisfied. She was turning the blame back on me again. Satisfied? I stood up. I walked up to her and looked down at her coldly. From beginning to end, your daughter betrayed me. After she made a mistake, you not only failed to discipline her, you actually helped her deceive me, insult me, and threaten me. You took my compromise as weakness, my tolerance as stupidity. Now I have only put the truth on the table. And you think I destroyed you? My voice was not loud, but every word was like a nail, driving into Wang Quixia's heart. She opened her mouth, but could not argue back. I stopped looking at her. My gaze shifted to Zhang, slumped on the floor. Mr. Zhang, I said, calling him by name. Didn't you say this apartment's design was your proudest work? Zhang shuddered all over, staring at me in terror. You used my trust to scam design fees, and even tried to lay claim to my house. Shouldn't we settle this account too? I took out my phone and opened a recording. It was the call recording with fourth brother. Money is no issue, but I require absolute confidentiality, and all evidence must be legal. Relax, we're professionals. The recording was short, but it was enough to make Zhang understand just how professional the source of this evidence was. If he dared question whether the evidence was real, he would be facing someone far more powerful, an opponent he could not afford to provoke. Fang Yuan, brother, please have mercy. Zhang dropped to his knees with a thud. He clutched my leg and cried out. I was wrong. I lost my mind. That 50,000 design fee, I'll pay it back to you right now. Double. I'll give you 100,000. Please show me mercy. Please let me off this once. If these things get out, I am completely finished in this industry. I kicked his hand away in disgust. Now, you know to be afraid. I looked at him coldly. Too late. I finally turned my gaze to Ruyan. She had already stopped crying, just sitting there in a daze, her eyes hollow. She looked like a puppet with its soul ripped out. I walked up to her. I put a document and a pen on the table in front of her. It was the property share transfer agreement. Sign it. Ruyan slowly lifted her head. When she looked at me, there was no hatred left in her eyes, only a dead, empty stillness. Why? She asked hoarsely. Why didn't you tell me sooner? You already knew. So, why did you still give me hope? She was talking about my agreeing to Zhang's dinner invitation. He probably thought I'd just laugh it off. I gave you countless chances. You were the one who kept blocking your own road, time after time. I asked you to come to dinner, not to give you hope, but to let you see clearly what kind of trash the man you chose really was, and to let you see how selfish the mother you relied on really was. I wanted you, in front of everyone you cared about most, to watch with your own eyes as everything you had worked so hard to build came crashing down. Ruyan, this is what you deserve. My words were the final straw that broke her down. She stared at the agreement, then suddenly let out a deranged laugh. As she laughed, tears streamed down again. She picked up the pen. Without even reading it, she went straight to the signature line on the last page and scribbled her name there. After she signed, she looked up with the kind of expression I had never seen before, staring at me with vicious hatred. I wish you a lifetime of loneliness. I put the agreement away. I did not even glance at her. Thank you, I said, but I am very happy. After saying that, I turned to my parents and my uncle. I said, Mom, Dad, Uncle, let's go, I said, and led them out without looking back, leaving that nauseating private room. Behind me came Wang Quixia's hysterical curses, Zhang Zhao's tearful pleas for mercy, and Ruyan's eerie laughter. None of it had anything to do with me anymore. When we walked out of Hexiangju, the air outside felt fresher than ever. My father patted my shoulder, saying nothing, but his eyes were full of support. My mother, eyes red, said heartbrokenly, Yuan, it's all in the past now. From here on out, we'll start over. I nodded. The battle was finally over, and I had won everything. The day after the ambush dinner, my parents went back to our hometown. Before leaving, my mother pressed a bank card into my hand. Inside was all the savings they had put aside over the years. 200,000, after all. If the house is gone, then it's gone. As long as you're okay, that's what matters. Take this money. Don't keep making things hard for yourself, she said, eyes red. My father stood nearby, puffing on his cigarette. Then he finally said, That's a real man. I didn't take the card back then. I saw them off on the high-speed rail back home, watching the train disappear into the distance. I felt an indescribable bitterness in my heart. I had made them worry about me for half their lives. In the end, I still had to let them pay for my failed marriage. I tightened my grip on the USB drive in my pocket, and that transfer agreement. I swore I would not only take back what belonged to me, and repay my parents for all the worry I put them through, and pay it back double to those who hurt us. Early Monday morning, I took the agreement and the property deed to the property transaction center. Because, with Ruyan's signed gratuitous transfer agreement, the paperwork went astonishingly smoothly. When the staff member handed me the new property deed with only my name on it, when she handed it to me, I felt the boulder pressing on my chest finally lift away. After I left the transaction center, I did not waste a single moment. I drove straight to see the uncle who had lent us the money. The uncle was straightforward. As we had agreed earlier, he filed a civil complaint in my name. The defendant was Ruyan. The claim demanded that Ruyan, as a joint debtor, repay half of the 200,000 yuan loan used to buy the house, bringing the total to several 100,000 yuan. The chain of evidence was airtight. The IOU I had signed myself, the bank transfer records, my parents' and uncle's testimony, and, most importantly, the old property deed with both our names on it. That old deed proved that when the loan was taken, we were buying it together as our premarital home, so this debt should have been borne by both of us. I knew Ruyan could not come up with 100,000 yuan in cash. Her only and most valuable asset was the Volkswagen Sagitter she had driven for 2 years. On the used car market, it was worth about 100,000 yuan. The court summons would land in her hands like a death warrant if she did not want her only means of transportation to be seized and auctioned through court enforcement. She had only one way out: come up with the money. And there were only two people who could give her money. One was her mother, Wang Quixiu, and the other was her dear Zhang Chao. After doing all this, I finally felt myself truly relax. I did not go back to the empty apartment at Guanlan residence. Instead, I checked into a hotel. I needed a quiet environment to handle the last thing, the thing that disgusted me most. I opened my laptop, copied the files from the USB drive, then sent them anonymously to an email address. It was the email address of the boss at the design company where Zhang Chao worked. In the body of the email, I wrote only one sentence: if even the chief designer's character cannot be guaranteed, how can the integrity of his work be guaranteed? Wasn't Zhang Chao most concerned about his career and reputation? Then I would make sure he tasted what it feels like to fall from the clouds into the mud. I did not know how his boss would handle it, but I knew the industry was a small circle. One scandal could be enough to destroy a designer's entire future, especially when that scandal came with video, chat logs, and a whole chain of ironclad evidence that could not be denied. After everything was handled, I shut down my computer and lay down on the hotel's soft bed, and I felt an unprecedented wave of exhaustion wash over me. For the past few days, I had been like a wound-up machine, constantly thinking and planning my counterattack. Now that the battle was over, I realized I was already covered in wounds. I slept for a long time. When I woke, it was the vibration of my phone that roused me. It was an unknown number. The area code showed the city where Ruyan was. I swiped to answer. Fang Yuan, you devil. You won't die a good death. On the other end of the line came Wang Quixia's furious cursing. Her voice was hoarse, full of venom, like a gambler who'd lost every chip. What exactly do you want? Haven't you ruined our Ruyan badly enough? You still want to sue her? You still want her to pay it back? Do you even have a conscience? Are you even human? I said nothing. I listened in silence. I told her, our family doesn't have a cent. Not a single cent. As for Ryan's car, forget it. If you have the guts, come to court and have it towed away. I'm laying it out right now. Anyone who dares touch that car, I'll smash my head against it and die. There she went, starting to make a scene. That's her favorite trick. Is that so? I finally said, my tone flat. Annie, dying in front of the car won't work. Court enforcement is perfectly lawful. By then, I'll even help you write the headline. Deadbeat debtor tries to obstruct enforcement, stages a street accident, and threatens suicide. How does that sound? The line went silent at once. I could picture Wang Quixia's face twisted, with anger and shock right then. She couldn't get a word out for a long time. Then I went on. You think Ruyan only has this one problem? Guess what Zhang Chao is doing now? What the hell do I care what happened to that bastard Zhang Chao? He was fired by his company for misconduct and for seriously damaging the company's reputation. The 50,000 yuan design fee he cheated out of me. The company boss paid it back for him. And he also paid me another 50,000 yuan in emotional distress damages. I paused, savoring the silence on the other end. By the way, I also heard his wife is already filing for divorce from him. Her family seems to have some pull. He really is leaving with nothing this time. Fourth brother just sent me those updates. He said Zhang Chao is now like a stray dog, blacklisted by the industry, abandoned by his family, with nowhere to live. And Wang, what do you think now? Who should you go after for that 100,000 yuan? I gently tossed out my final question. A heavy, ragged breath came over the phone, like an old bellows being yanked open. A long time passed. Wang Quixia said, in a voice that seemed squeezed out through clenched teeth. Fang Yuan, you're ruthless. Then she hung up. I tossed my phone aside, feeling no satisfaction at all. I had only done what I should have done. I drew back the curtains. Afternoon sunlight poured in. Traffic flowed below. Everything was as it had always been. The world won't stop turning for anyone's joy or sorrow. My phone rang again. This time it was Manager Wang from the construction crew. Hello, Mr. Fang. Hello. His voice sounded excited. I heard you've handled everything with the apartment. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thanks. So, do we keep going with the renovation? He asked tentatively. I looked out at the sunlight, silent for a few seconds. That apartment had carried too many of my dreams, and too much filth. I had once thought I'd never step foot in there again. But why couldn't I? That was my house. The one I won back fair and square with my own strength. Continue. Start on time tomorrow. The next day, I didn't go to Guanlan residence. Manager Wang told me on the phone that the start of work ceremony went very smoothly. The workers were fired up. He sent me a few photos. In the photos, the chalk writing for Ryan's walk-in closet on the floor and the nursery label had already been cleared away. New layout lines were drawn according to my revised design plans and redrawn. The walk-in closet was still there, but not in that absurd size that took up the entire second bedroom. I turned it back into a normal study, leaving only a row of wardrobes in one corner. The nursery I'd planned for a future baby, I redesigned as a home gym. I told Manager Wang, I only want the best materials, the most eco-friendly methods, and money is no issue. After hanging up, I drove to my parents' place. It was an old apartment we'd lived in for more than 20 years. The complex was old, and the hallways were stacked with clutter. When I knocked and my mom saw me, she froze. Then her eyes turned red. Yuan, why are you back? Did you miss us? I went inside and set the fruit I'd brought on the table. The place was still the same, worn but clean. My dad was on the sofa watching TV. When he saw me, he just nodded. He pointed to the seat beside him. My mom poured me a glass of water and sat across from me, wanting to say something and stopping herself. Mom, I'm fine. Let me say it first. I got the house back. It's now in my name alone. The renovation has started again. That's good. That's really good. My mom nodded repeatedly, as if she finally let out a long breath. Also, I took a bank card from my bag and set it on the table. There's 200,000 yuan on it. I've already paid back the money I borrowed from uncle. This 200,000 is the rebate the developer returned, plus some compensation. I didn't tell them the truth. Part of that money came from Zhang Chao's company. The rest was my own savings over the years. I didn't want them to know the dirty details. You child, why are you being so formal with us? My mom said that, but she couldn't hide the relief in her eyes. My dad picked up the card and looked at it, then set it back down. He told me to keep the money. The renovation will cost money. You'll need money to live on later too. We both have pensions. You keep it. My tone was firm. You've worried and worked for me my whole life. Take this as me showing my gratitude. If you want to travel somewhere, or move to a better complex, that's fine too. My dad looked at me for a long time. In the end, he let out a sigh. Then he took the card. You've grown up, he said. That noon, my mom made a big table full of my favorite dishes. At dinner, they said nothing about Ruyan, and nothing about the unhappy things from the past. They just kept piling food into my bowl. After dinner, I played a few games of chess with my dad, then listened to my mom go on about ordinary family matters. When I was about to leave in the afternoon, my mom pulled me aside and quietly slipped me a protective amulet. I asked for this for you at the temple. Keep it close to your body. It'll keep you safe. It'll ward off bad luck. I held the red cloth pouch, my nose stinging. I almost cried. I nodded and solemnly tucked it into my inside pocket. When I left my parents' place, I felt the last shadow in my heart lift away. Family love is the cure for everything. In the days that followed, I put all my energy into work and the renovation. I was the first one at the office every day, and the last one to leave. The boss seemed to have heard about what happened to me too. He didn't ask many questions. He just patted my shoulder, gave me a raise, and handed me an important new project. After work every day, I went to Guanlan residence. The house changed every single day. The plumbing and wiring were finished. The walls were built, and the underfloor heating was laid. I discussed every detail with the workers, watching the lines on the blueprints turn into reality, little by little. I no longer thought of it as a cold building. It had warmth now, and it had life. During that time, I got a phone call. It was Shanshan calling. Fang Yuan, I'm sorry. As soon as I answered, she apologized right away. What happened that day was because Ruyan begged me to say that. I didn't have the heart to refuse. I never thought things would get this serious. It's over, I said. Ruyan, she's been doing really badly lately. Shanshan hesitated and said she sold her car and paid back the money she owed. Her mom scolds her at home every day. She lost her job too. She's completely falling apart. I listened in silence, saying nothing. I know I have no right to plead for her. I just wanted to say, she's gotten what was coming to her. Do you think you could? If not, let me stop you there. This was her own choice. She chose that road herself. She has to see it through. When I finished, I hung up. I'm not a saint. I can't forgive. Some hurts, once they are done, can never be made right. Another month passed. The fixed finishes in the house were basically complete. The walls were painted the light gray I liked. The floors were laid in a warm wood tone. The layered lighting scheme I designed made the whole space look bright and upscale. I stood in the empty living room as sunlight poured in through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows. It was warm and bright. I could almost see that in the days ahead, I would work out, read, and work here, enjoying the quiet of being alone. My phone rang. It was Manager Wang. Mr. Fang, the fixed finishes are done. When would be a convenient time for you to come inspect it? I'm here right now. I said, perfect. Please wait a moment, I'll be right over. I hung up. I walked out to the balcony. I looked down at the bustling traffic below. Just then, I saw a familiar figure. It was Ruyan. She was standing beneath our building, looking up toward the 21st floor. She was even thinner than the last time I saw her. She was wearing a faded old coat that had been washed nearly white. Her face was bloodless. Her eyes were empty. She just stood there, like a soulless statue. Our eyes met in midair. I couldn't make out her expression, but I could feel. That gaze was full of complicated emotions. There was regret and resentment, maybe even a lingering fantasy. I didn't look away. I just looked at her calmly, as if she were a stranger who had nothing to do with me. Ruyan seemed not to expect me to appear on the balcony. She froze. Her body froze in place. Even from 20 floors up, I could almost feel the tremor in her gaze. She just kept her head lifted like that, staring at me without moving. The sunlight was harsh. She probably could not make out my expression. Only a blurred outline. An outline that had once belonged to her, but now had completely shut her out. I did not wave. I did not sneer. I did not even show any expression. I just calmly looked away and turned back into the living room. I had nothing more to say to her. Not long after, Manager Wang came upstairs with a few foremen. Mr. Fang, take a look. Everything has been done according to your requirements. Please check it over. If there is anything you're not satisfied with, we'll change it right away. Manager Wang was all smiles. I carefully inspected every corner. The smoothness of the walls, the gaps in the tiles, the routing of the plumbing and wiring, and every detail had been handled well. Thanks for your hard work, Manager Wang. I'm very satisfied. I nodded. As long as you're satisfied. Manager Wang rubbed his hands together. He took a red envelope from his pocket and handed it to me. Mr. Fang, this is a little token of our company's appreciation. We caused you trouble before with Zhang Chao's mess. Our boss specifically instructed us to treat this order as a showcase project. I pushed the red envelope back. Manager Wang, let's keep business and favor separate. The work was done well. Paying for it is only right. I can't accept this red envelope. Manager Wang tried to persuade me again, but I firmly refused. After seeing them off, the room fell quiet again. I walked to the window and instinctively glanced downstairs. Ruyan was already gone. What had she come here for? Was she trying to see whether I was doing well, or just revisiting old ground and mourning everything she had destroyed with her own hands? I didn't know, and I didn't want to know. From that day on, I started on the soft furnishings. I no longer chose things the way I used to, just to suit someone else's taste. I bought the dark gray sofa I liked, a black coffee table with a clean, simple design, and a huge desk with enough room for me to stretch my legs. I didn't put in a television. Instead, on the largest wall, I installed an entire wall of bookshelves. It took a weekend to move all my books onto the shelves, one by one. Watching the bookshelves slowly fill up, I felt an unprecedented sense of satisfaction. This place was slowly becoming the way I had dreamed it would be. It was a dream that belonged to me alone. During that time, I cut off all contact with everyone from my past. Ruyan never showed up again. Wang Qixian never called to her ask me again. According to fourth brother, Zhang Chao had already left the city, and no one knew where he had gone. They were like stones thrown into a lake. After stirring up a ripple, they sank to the bottom and disappeared without a sound. My life finally returned to normal. Work, workouts, reading, and renovating the house were simple but fulfilling. I started to enjoy life on my own. No more exhausting effort to guess what the other person was thinking. No more changing my plans for someone else. No more pinning my happiness and anger on another person. That feeling was so free it became addictive. 2 months later, the house was finally fully renovated. All the furniture and appliances had been moved in. I hired a professional cleaning company to do a full post-construction deep clean. When the last speck of dust was cleaned away, I stood in this brand new home, my heart full of mixed emotions. From hell to heaven. It had only taken a few short months. I took 6 photos and posted them on WeChat Moments. The photos showed the sunlit living room, the huge bookshelves, and the open river view outside the window. I didn't add any caption, but WeChat Moments exploded almost immediately. Co-workers, friends, and classmates all liked and commented. Holy hell. Brother Yuan, did you move into a large riverview single-level apartment? This decorating style is next level. Send me the designer's contact info. Living alone in such a huge place is way too luxurious, isn't it? When's the housewarming party? I looked at those comments and smiled. My standard reply, I am the designer. Housewarming party, to be decided. You're welcome to drop by anytime. Just then, I got a private message. It was from a college classmate I hadn't heard from in a long time. Fang Yuan, congratulations. Your house is beautiful. Thanks, I replied. Oh, and I think I saw Ruyan today. My heart gave a jolt. Where? Right downstairs from our company. She seemed to be handing out flyers. Those flyers from a gym. I almost did not recognize her. She had lost an alarming amount of weight. She looked especially haggard. I called out to her. She looked at me once, didn't say anything, and left with her head down. I stared at those words. in silence for a long time. Handing out flyers had once been the kind of thing she would never have done. She used to wear nothing but designer brands. She would only drink pour-over coffee. So, why was she handing out flyers? Wasn't she doing admin work at a foreign company? The job was easy, and the pay was not bad. You didn't know, my classmate replied. She had already been fired. I think it was because she had a fight with her supervisor. It got very ugly. I don't know the details. I only heard it from someone else. A fight with her supervisor? That didn't sound like her at all. She knew exactly how to flatter her superiors. Unless that supervisor had done something to her. A thought flashed through my mind. I immediately called fourth brother. Help me check on someone. The company Ruyan used to work for, and the real reason she left. Fourth brother was as efficient as ever. The next afternoon, he gave me an answer. That girl was pressured into a sexual quid pro quo. Fourth brother's voice on the phone was tinged with mockery. Her direct supervisor, a greasy old man in his 40s, had been interested in her for a long time. Back when she was with Zhang Chao, the old man had no chance. Now that she was down and out, he thought his chance had finally come. I listened quietly, without interrupting. Last month, that old man used a company team building event as an excuse to get her drunk. He wanted to take her to a hotel. But this time, the girl turned out to have some backbone. She openly blew up at her supervisor in the karaoke bar lobby. Then she called the police. When the police arrived, there was no way to smooth things over. To keep the matter quiet, the company fired her. Of course, that old man was dealt with too, but it was only a transfer to another post. Fourth brother paused. He added that he had also found out she had been looking for work lately, but it had not been going well. I guess that incident had spread through the industry circle. No respectable company dared hire her. On top of that, there were all the things she had done before. Her reputation was already rotten. After hanging up, I sat in my new study, silent for a long time. Outside the window, the sky slowly darkened. One by one, the city's neon lights came on. It was like a sea of shimmering color. I didn't know what I was feeling. Pity, schadenfreude. It felt like neither. I just felt that fate was truly a strange cycle. He had once used drunkenness as an excuse to betray me. Now someone else wanted to hurt him in exactly the same way. He successfully fought it off a second time. But in doing so, he lost the job he depended on to survive. And he sank deeper into the mud. Was this karma? I lit a cigarette. In the curling smoke, I seemed to see him again standing downstairs, looking up at me. In that gaze, besides regret and resentment, there may have been a plea for help. But what could I do? I was no longer anything to him. His world had long since become none of my business. I ground out the cigarette. I opened my laptop and started taking care of work. I forced myself not to think about him anymore. Day by day, time passed. With my care, my new home gradually became warmer and more lived in. I bought a coffee machine, and every morning I made myself a pour-over coffee. I bought a projector and a screen, so I could watch old movies on weekend nights. I even started learning how to cook. At first, I was a complete mess, either adding too much salt or failing to control the heat, but watching dish after dish come out looking less than perfect, yet still tasting good, I still felt a small sense of accomplishment. I invited a few close coworkers over to my place. They marveled at my huge bookshelves, messed around with my professional gym equipment, and lounged on my spacious Riverview balcony. Brother Yuan, your life is basically heavenly, a young co-worker said enviously. You have a house, a car, and a career. And you're handsome too. You're the definition of an eligible bachelor. I smiled. I neither confirmed nor denied it. At the very least, my life now was peaceful and free, and completely under my own control. That night, I was on the balcony, using an astronomical telescope to look at the moon. It was a new hobby I'd picked up recently. My phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. I didn't want to answer it at first, but for some reason, I still hit accept. There was a long silence on the other end. All I could hear was a faint, stifled sob. My heart sank. Ruyan, I asked tentatively. The crying stopped. After a moment, a hoarse, fragile voice came through, as if it could break at any moment. Fang Yuan, it's me. I need help. My voice was cold and gave away nothing. And my mom's been hospitalized. Ruyan's voice was thick with a heavy nasal tone, every word hitching as she spoke. She had a sudden cerebral hemorrhage. They're trying to save her right now. The doctor says her condition is very bad. I frowned. Wang Quixia was in the hospital. So what? I asked. I need money. Ruyan finally said why she had called. Her voice was full of shame and despair. I've asked everyone I could borrow from, but it's still not enough for the surgery cost. I know I shouldn't be coming to you again, but I really have no other choice. Can you lend me some money first? Just treat it as a loan from me. I'll work my fingers to the bone and pay you back. She cried until she was choking on sobs. I held the phone and stood on the balcony. The night breeze brushed past. It was a little cold. I looked out at the brilliant night scene in the distance. My feelings were a mess. Wang Quixia, that woman who used to point her finger in my face and curse me with the vilest words. Now she lay in the hospital, her life hanging in the balance. And her daughter, the woman who once betrayed me and humiliated me beyond measure, was now humbly begging me for help over the phone. How ironic. How much do you need? I heard myself ask in a strange, emotionless tone. 200,000, Ruyan said. 200,000. Back then, for my marital home, my parents borrowed 200,000 from friends. Now, to save her mother's life, she needed 200,000 too. Sometimes fate's coincidences are truly chilling. Why should I give it to you? I asked coldly. On the other end, Ruyan's sobbing stopped abruptly. She probably hadn't expected such a blunt refusal. Fang Yuan, her voice was full of pleading. I know I wronged you before, but that's my mom. Your mother's life matters, but doesn't mine matter too? I cut her off. The emotions I'd buried for so long finally broke through. Do you remember how Wang Quixia used to curse me? How did she help you lie to me, humiliate me, and leave me in despair? Have you forgotten? Now that she's had an accident, you remember me. Ruyan, what do you take me for? Some kind of ATM you can call whenever you want and throw away whenever you're done. My voice grew louder and colder. I wasn't asking her. I was just stating a fact. There was no sound at all on the other end, only dead silence. A long time passed, so long that I thought she'd already hung up. I'm sorry, she said softly, her voice drained of strength and full of despair. Sorry to bother you. Then the call was cut off. I stood there holding the phone, not moving for a long time. There was no thrill of revenge in my heart. Instead, there was an indescribable restlessness and emptiness. What irritated me wasn't her asking for help, but the fact that even now, one phone call from her, one tear, could still so easily throw my emotions into chaos. I hated this feeling. I hated it. The feeling of not being able to fully control my own emotions. That night, I couldn't sleep. Over and over in my mind, Ruyan's desperate sobbing over the phone, and that faint, careless I'm sorry. I tried to numb myself with Wang Quixia's past cruelty and Ruyan's betrayal. I told myself this was the karma they deserved. I hadn't done anything wrong, but my heart felt as if it were being squeezed by an invisible hand, tight enough to make me panic. Early the next morning, I drove to the company with dark circles under my eyes. All morning, I was restless, unable to focus on a single word on the screen. At noon, I didn't go to lunch. I somehow ended up driving to Central City Hospital. I didn't go upstairs. I just parked across the street from the hospital, rolled down the window, and watched people coming and going through the main entrance. What was I waiting for? I didn't even know myself. Maybe I just wanted to confirm whether Ruyan had told the truth, or maybe I just wanted to see how far she'd fallen. After waiting for more than half an hour, I saw her. She came out of the hospital building. She was holding an empty thermos. She was wearing the same old coat from yesterday. Her hair was messy and tangled. Her face was white as paper. She kept her head down. Her hollow eyes stared at the ground. She slowly walked toward the water dispenser by the hospital entrance. She was skin and bones. It looked as if a gust of wind could knock her over. The once glamorous Ruyan, proud as a peacock, was gone, replaced by a woman whose spine had been crushed by life. A pitiful woman with no hope in sight. I looked at her, my feelings a tangled mess. Just then, a man came charging from the side and grabbed Ruyan's arm. It was Chao. He looked even more down and out than the last time I saw him. His suit had become a wrinkled jacket. His greasy hair stuck flat to his scalp. There were still a few scars on his face that hadn't healed cleanly. It looked like he'd been in another fight. Ruyan, he said, gripping Ruyan tightly. His eyes bloodshot. Your mother is in the hospital. How could you not tell me something this big? Ruyan jumped at the sight of him, struggling hard to shake off his hand. I have nothing to do with you anymore. How can you say that? Chao shouted, agitated. I lost my job. My wife divorced me too. I'm left with nothing, and it's all because of you. Now, you want to dump me? Not so easy. Ruyan flared up too. You were the one who came after me first. You ruined everything I had. I ruined you. Chao let out a cold laugh. Ruyan, don't forget. Who was it that whispered in my ear that Fang Yuan was a fool? Who said you'd tell him straight once the apartment was renovated? It was you. You were the one who was never satisfied. You wanted to keep both sides. That's why you ended up like this. Their argument drew a crowd. Ruyan's face flushed scarlet. She looked at the crowd around them, pointing and whispering. Ashamed and furious, wanting nothing more than to crawl into a crack in the ground. Get lost. I don't want to see you again. She shoved Chao with all her strength. Chao stumbled from the push. He was completely enraged. He pointed at Ruyan and snarled. But you have to cough up that 100,000. That was my last wedding nest egg. Your mother's surgery cost are your problem to figure out. Don't think you'll get another cent from me. With that, he turned and walked off without looking back. Ruyan stood there in a daze. The thermos in her hand clattered to the floor. It shattered into pieces. She stared at Chao's retreating back, then at the crowd gathered around her. In the end, she slowly crouched down. She hugged her knees to her chest and let out a desperate, beast-like sob. I sat in the car, across the street from them, watching everything in silence. My hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles white. So she had gone to Chao to borrow money. So the last straw that broke her was the love she once believed in. I don't know how long I sat there. It was only when my phone rang that I was pulled back from the turmoil in my mind. It was fourth brother. He found something. His voice was low. The account you asked me to check is the Central City Hospital public donation account for the cardiology and cerebrovascular department, used specifically to help critically ill patients who can't afford surgery. Last night, I sent Ruyan's phone number to fourth brother and had him check her recent financial activity. There was less than 200 yuan left in her own account. Her mother's hospital bill was still short by 180,000. Fourth brother went on. But just a moment ago, someone had transferred money into that public account, an anonymous donation of 7.2 million yuan, and they specified that the money was to be used to pay all medical expenses for a patient named Wang Quixia. My heart gave a hard jolt. Who donated it? I asked. I don't know, fourth brother said. They used an overseas server. The virtual IP can't be traced back to its source. But I'm guessing this has something to do with you, right? I didn't answer. I hung up. Then I started the car. I didn't go home. And I didn't go back to the office. I drove aimlessly, circling the city without a destination. Why had I done that? I asked myself. Was it out of pity? Because I felt sorry for her? Or to prove that I was better than that scumbag Zhang Chao? No. I just thought Wang Quixia's crimes didn't deserve death. I just didn't want Ruyan to carry the burden of a life on her conscience. If her mother died because she couldn't afford surgery, then her life would truly be ruined. My grudge with her ends here. From this moment on, we owe each other nothing. I drove to the river and pulled over. The river wind blew past, scattering the last of the restlessness in my heart. I took out my phone, opened WeChat, and found the profile picture I once thought I'd never open it again for the rest of my life. I sent her a message. I borrowed the money. It's not for you. It's for your mother. You don't need to pay it back. And you don't need to thank me. From now on, our debts to each other are settled. We don't need to see each other again in this lifetime. After sending it, I removed her as a contact. After doing all that, I felt strangely relieved. I leaned back in the seat, looking at the water outside the window, and slowly let out a long breath. Goodbye, Ruyan. Goodbye to that foolish part of my past. I thought this would end like every melodramatic story, with the villains punished, the good people starting over, and everyone going their separate ways, each to their own peace. But life is always more absurd than drama. A month later, I got an unexpected call. It was Shanshan. She sounded exhausted and hesitant. Fang Yuan, I know I shouldn't be calling you again, but there's something I think I have to tell you. What is it? Ruyan, she's gone. Gone. I froze. Gone where? Not what you're thinking. Gone, Shanshan said, lowering her voice. She passed away. My mind went completely blank. What did you say? I thought I had heard wrong. She passed away. A week ago, she had acute renal failure in the hospital, and they couldn't save her. Shanshan's voice was breaking with tears. Her mother's surgery was a success, and she's out of danger now. But she herself didn't make it. I gripped my phone, feeling as if all the blood in my body had frozen. Ruyan was dead. How could that be? She was still so young. Why did it turn out like this? My voice was trembling. The doctor said she had been malnourished for a long time, and the mental strain was too much, so her body had already collapsed. She sold her car to pay you back, and after that she survived by taking odd jobs. She ate the cheapest instant noodles, and lived in the dampest basement she could find. Her mother's hospitalization completely broke her. She spent day and night caring for her mother in the hospital. Even when she got sick, she refused to go for a checkup. She refused to take her medicine. It wasn't until she collapsed in the ward that anyone found her. I don't know how I ended the call. My phone slipped from my powerless hand. It hit the floor. The screen shattered, like a heart smashed to pieces. Ruyan was dead. The news struck like a bolt from the blue. It left me completely stunned. I sank onto the sofa. My mind was a total mess. Acute renal failure, long-term malnutrition, severe mental stress. Every word Shanshan said felt like a sharp knife, stabbing my heart over and over. I pictured her final state, at the hospital entrance. She was wearing an ill-fitting old coat. Her face was pale. Her eyes were empty. She was crouched on the ground, hugging her knees, letting out desperate sobs. At that time, had her body already reached its limit? And I was sitting in the car across the street, watching coldly. I had even felt noble and relieved for anonymously donating the money. I thought I had given her a way out, a chance to start over. I was wrong. What I gave her was only the last straw that broke the camel's back. That 200,000 didn't save her. Instead, it became the thing that sealed her fate. She pinned all her hope on saving her mother. When that goal was achieved, the tightly stretched string inside her snapped. She chose to give up on herself. A huge, suffocating guilt washed over me like a tide. I covered my face. My body began trembling uncontrollably. I had hated her before. I had once hated her betrayal, hated her lies. But now, when this woman had completely disappeared from the world, I found that hatred was so insignificant. What came to mind was no longer her ugly face at that ambushed dinner, nor those filthy chat logs between her and Zhang Chao, but the way she looked when we first got together, smiling like a flower in bloom. The bright look in her eyes when she first walked into that bare shell apartment, excitedly planning our future. The gentle reminders she gave me when she brought me a bowl of hot soup late at night while I was working overtime. Those beautiful fragments I had deliberately forgotten became crystal clear at that moment, and terribly ironic. Fang Yuan, I wish you a lifetime of loneliness. Those were the last words she said to me when she signed that agreement. They sounded like a venomous curse, echoing in my ears again and again. I once thought I could just laugh that off, but now I finally understood that this curse might already have come true. I don't know how long I sat there. The sky went from bright to dim to completely black. I didn't turn on the lights. I just sat there, letting darkness and loneliness swallow me whole. The next day I took a leave of absence. I drove to the cemetery Shanshan had told me about. The sky was overcast. It was drizzling. In the most remote corner of the cemetery, I found her grave. A small black and white photo was set into the cold stone. She was smiling sweetly in the photo, still the proud, radiant woman I remembered. In front of the gravestone, there was already a bouquet of white chrysanthemums, somewhat wilted. I gently placed the fresh bouquet I had bought beside it. I stared at that photo for a very, very long time. I wanted to say something to her. Wanted to say I was sorry. I wanted to say I didn't hate you anymore. I wanted to ask why you had to be so foolish. In the end, I couldn't say a single word. In the face of death, all language looked so pale and powerless. I just stood there, letting the cold rain soak my hair and clothes. I don't know how long I stood there, until a voice sounded behind me. You still came. I turned around and saw Wan Quixia. She looked 20 years older than the last time I saw her. Her hair was completely white. Her face was covered in wrinkles. Her eyes were cloudy, without a trace of life. She was wearing all black. She held a cane. Her body was still trembling slightly. It was obvious she was just recovering from a major illness. She looked at me. There was no trace of her former bitterness or venom, only a kind of dead water calm. When she left, she kept calling your name. Wan Quixia said slowly, her voice hoarse. She said she was sorry. She said that if there were another life, she wanted to be a good person. My heart felt as if a giant hand had crushed it hard. The pain made it impossible to breathe. Wan Quixia looked at me, and 2 lines of tears ran down her cloudy eyes. That 200,000 was donated by you. She said you were the best person in the world to her, and also the person she had let down the most. I could no longer hold back my tears. The tears spilled out. Annie, I choked out, trying to say something. Don't call me Annie. Wang Quixia shook her head. I don't deserve it. It was me. I was the one who ruined her. I told her from childhood that she had to marry a rich man, that she had to live a good life. When she made mistakes, I never taught her properly. I forced her onto a dead end. As she spoke, she hammered at her own chest with her hand, letting out pain sobs. I was wrong. I was really wrong. But my Ruyan, she's never coming back. Tears streamed down her wrinkled face. Her body went weak, and she was about to collapse. I rushed over instinctively and caught her. Her body was light as a feather. I steadied her and said hoarsely, I can't get past this. She shook her head and looked at me through tears. Fang Yuan, I want to ask you one favor. Please, forget her. Wang Quixia grabbed my arm and said with all her strength, forget her completely. You're still young. You still have good days ahead of you. Don't let her hold you back anymore. After saying that, she pushed me away, leaning on her cane, and shuffled step by step out of the cemetery. That woman, who had once been so arrogant and so shameless, now had a back that looked so frail and lonely. I watched her walk away, then looked back at Liu Ruyan's smiling face on the gravestone. Forget her. How could I ever forget her? Her death had carved in my heart a scar that would never heal. After I came back from the cemetery, I fell seriously ill. My fever wouldn't break. I was dazed the whole time, lying in bed and dreaming over and over. I dreamed that Liu Ruyan was wearing a white dress and standing in the living room of our new house. She smiled at me and said, Fang Yuan, look how beautiful it is here. I dreamed she was holding my leg, crying and begging me, give me one more chance, one last time. I dreamed she was standing downstairs. I dreamed she was standing downstairs. She tipped her head back and looked at me with those empty eyes. In the end, the image froze on the black and white photo on the gravestone. She was smiling, but that smile was full of sorrow. I jolted awake from the dream. I was drenched in cold sweat. I struggled to sit up. I poured myself a glass of water, looking at the man in the mirror, pale-faced, with lifeless eyes, and stubble all over his face. I felt a wave of unfamiliarity. Was that really me? That Fang Yuan who had once been calm and decisive? The Fang Yuan who used to keep everything under control? Where had he gone? It felt like Liu Ruyan's death had also taken a part of my soul with it. I started suffering from insomnia. Night after night, I couldn't sleep. I started drinking heavily. I tried to numb myself with alcohol. I stopped going to the company every day. I just locked myself in that empty, oversized house. That place I had once been proud of. The dream home I had built with my own hands had become a huge, freezing cage. I walked over to the massive bookcase. It was packed with all kinds of books, but I couldn't bring myself to read a single one. I went to the gym, looking at those cold machines. I couldn't work up any energy. I went out to the balcony, looking at the dazzling river view outside. I felt only endless loneliness. In this home, her shadow was everywhere. I could almost see her sitting on the sofa, with her legs tucked up, watching a movie. I could almost hear her complaining in the kitchen that there was too much smoke and grease. I could almost smell the lingering scent of her shampoo in the air. I was close to losing my mind. One night, I drank too much again. I stumbled over to the bookcase. I pulled out a book, then slammed it hard onto the floor. Then a second, then a third. Like a madman, I tore apart the books I'd painstakingly collected, one by one, and threw the pieces everywhere. I smashed the coffee table. I kicked over the sofa. I turned everything I could see into wreckage. In the end, I collapsed in the middle of the wrecked living room, clutching my head and howling like a child. I cried for myself. I cried for Liu Ruyan. I cried for our tragic relationship, the one I had buried with my own hands. I don't know how long I cried. I felt like I was about to collapse from exhaustion. I fished the protective amulet out of my pocket. My mom had shoved it into my hand when I left home. The red cloth pouch had been warmed by my body heat. It was still warm in my hand. Keep it close to your body and it will keep you safe. And drive away bad luck, my mother's words echoed in my ears. I looked at the amulet, then at the ruin filling the room. Suddenly, I felt ridiculous. What was I even doing? Punishing myself like this? Liu Ruyan was already dead. No matter what I did, she couldn't see it. If I kept torturing myself like this, I would only make the people who loved me worry and suffer for me. My dad, my mom, I suddenly missed them so much. I struggled to get up from the floor. I found my phone. The screen was shattered, but it still worked. I called my mom. It rang for a long time before she answered. My mom's voice was thick with a heavy nasal tone, clearly just woken from sleep. Hello, Yuan. What's wrong this late at night? The moment I heard my mom's voice, all my pretense and strength collapsed instantly. Mom, I couldn't get a single word out. Yuan, what's wrong? Don't scare me. My mom grew frantic on the other end of the line. I want to go home. I cried. There was silence on the other end. After a long while, my mom said yes, her voice full of tenderness. Mom will make you something delicious. And hung up. I looked at the home I had destroyed with my own hands and made a decision. The next day, I contacted a realtor and put the apartment on the market. I set the price 7.2 million below market value. I had only one condition: full payment. I wanted to close the deal as soon as possible. A week later, the apartment was sold. On the day we signed the contract, the buyers were a young couple. They looked at the beautifully renovated Riverview apartment, their eyes full of hope for the life ahead, just like Ruyan and I once had been. With the money from selling the house, I paid off all the loans. I put the rest into a new bank card. Then I packed a few simple belongings and bought a one-way ticket back to my hometown. The day I left the city, the weather was lovely. I sat in a taxi, watching the streets rush backward outside the window. With a calm heart, this city had taught me too much about love and hate, dreams and disillusionment. Now I was finally leaving. I didn't know what the future would bring, but I knew I needed to go home, back to the place where my parents were, to heal the wounds in my heart. Maybe, as Juan said, I should forget him and start a new life.